recently went on a trip to the Whitsundays in Airlie Beach. If you haven't heard of this part of Australia, it's kind of known for its white sand beaches and like super clear and beautiful water there. The camera I used was the Mamiya RZ67 matched with the 90mm lens. I thought this lens would be quite good for landscape shots, considering that was mainly what I was shooting. I only bought one camera with me, one main camera with me, which was quite an achievement for me. This was mainly kind of a relaxing family kind of holiday, so I didn't get much time to shoot, and most of the time that I did was during the day when the weather kind of wasn't too ideal, but definitely made the most of it. Besides that, it was really fun to get used to the RZ67 a bit more. Bringing it all that way, I felt quite an urge to use it quite a lot of the time. I think I was quite blown away with the Whitsundays itself. It's like a breathtaking place of like the most insane views I've ever seen, to be honest. The first day we went to Hamilton Island. On the way there we stopped at Daydream Island and I took quite a few photos of the resort itself and the surrounding coastline. There wasn't particularly too much going on apart from the resort itself. What was interesting is this particular island got hit quite badly by a cyclone. I think it was last year, and just to see the rebuild, I think they spent something crazy like 100 million on rebuilding the resort, so just to see that and kind of capture a few images of the brand new resort was cool. I managed to capture this image of these light rays coming through this window, spreading their light on these white wooden shutters, which came out quite cool. The main film I used while traveling was Portrait 160, just because of how bright and sunny it was every day, and also I shot one roll of Portrait 400 at some point as well. After we left Daydream Island, we actually went over to Hamilton Island, which was the next stop. We decided to rent a buggy out and kind of travel the island with that. I think every other tourist decided to do the same. It did turn out to be quite fun traveling the island on these buggies, as you can see in my face here. After that, we drove up to a lookout point where you had incredible views of Cat's Eye Bay. I think Portrait did a really good job of capturing that teal blue ocean colour, which turned out really nice in some of these pictures. I also bought a point and shoot camera with me, the Olympus MJU2. I think it's the American equivalent of the Stylus Epic. But yeah, I managed to find this camera in a vintage store in Japan, quite luckily. I think it's increasingly becoming my favourite camera to shoot with recently, just because of how small and kind of I can just take it everywhere with me. I'll probably do a video on it pretty soon as well. But yeah, this is some of the photos I took while on this trip on this camera. After the viewpoint, we actually travelled back down to the marina, and I took a few snaps of the marina itself and some of the boats. And also there was these crazy seagulls flying past, which I managed to get in some of my shots, especially this one where it's literally about to hit my camera. The RZ67 has a maximum shutter speed of 1/400th of a second. I found when I was taking certain close-ups of the boats, I wanted a low aperture. I was having to use like an aperture of 16, which is quite high, I would have preferred a lower depth of field for these kind of shots, but with that 1/400th, I was kind of limited there. I couldn't push it further to get a lower aperture. Later that evening, before catching the boat back to Airlie Beach, I managed to walk around where the marina was and a bit further to capture some shots with that nice afternoon glow. I think these shots were probably my favourite out of the bunch I took that day. We caught the boat back to Airlie Beach as the sun was setting, and I managed to catch quite a few shots from the boat itself. I think the sea started to have a really nice pinker hue to it because of the sky was changing. By this time I was still shooting 160, so I was quite happy that most of the shots were in focus, as I was using quite low shutter speeds, but there was still hardly any motion blur. The final day we actually booked a boat trip out to Whitehaven Beach along the Whitsundays. This was probably my favourite day from the trip. We did quite a lot, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun. We started off actually snorkeling on one of the coves, which was quite cool. It was surrounded by a coral reef, so yeah. Unfortunately I didn't manage to get any footage as I was mostly in the water. Definitely should have brought a GoPro or something with me. I think about 3 or 4 days before we actually went on the trip, there was a shark attack on the Whitsundays on a similar kind of trip that we went on. So everyone was a bit on edge about the whole thing. I think when everyone realised the really small possibility that it would happen again, everyone kind of put their minds at ease. After that, we actually stopped at one of the islands and we took a small hike up to the top where there was a viewing point. And there was like the most incredible views of the whole island and just countless kilometres of white sand, ocean, and kind of just the meeting of the two. I did take quite a lot of photos from this viewing point, but I just don't feel like it did it justice. It was pretty cool seeing how small the people looked down at the beach there as well. After that, we actually hiked down from the viewing point to the ocean and hanged out there for a bit. And then we got back on the boat and actually stopped at the final stop of the trip. The next island actually had another amazing viewpoint which we hiked up to as well. I took a few final shots up there of the different viewpoints. It was kind of a more unique view than the past viewing point. You could see both sides of the island as well. I didn't manage to grab any footage at this point. I was too busy talking to the other people that we met on the boat. But yeah, that was the final part of that trip where we went down to the beach, played some cool games, bit of paddleboarding, and yeah, just relaxed on the beach before heading back. The final day we actually spent walking around Airlie Beach town. I took my Olympus with me and took some fun shots of kind of more street photography style. Even though the RZ can be quite heavy to travel around with, I found it quite easy after a while, get used to the heaviness. I used the Mamiya neck strap and put it around my shoulder, and that was quite comfortable for most of the trip. The only thing is, long periods of time where I wasn't using it, I had it in my backpack, and it was quite hard to take out on those kind of candid moments where I did see something I wanted to shoot. But then again, it made me more preemptive to those kind of situations. So if I knew there was like a cool place we're about to get to or something I would want to shoot, I kind of took it out beforehand, got it ready, and yeah, it just made me plan ahead a bit more. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to follow my Instagram for more of my film photography, and also if you're enjoying my content, please subscribe as well. See ya.